22, and you accomplish the goal. James Click, Jim Crane, they talk to the media. Everything seems to be okay. James Click gives some cryptic, weird message in the locker room. Dusty Baker meets with the press with Jim Crane, and they get him signed for a year. James Click doesn't know about it. Apparently, there have been some things brewing in the Astros front office. Remember, this team is still considered Lunau's team. Was James Click merely a placeholder? And is this cleaning house a signal that things are going awry? Or is this much ado about nothing? And Jim Crane's just riding the ship to go back to the World Series to win another title, no matter who's at the helm. We'll talk about this on tonight's Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we update you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talk Stros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
And guys, please follow him at H-Town Wheelhouse on TikTok. We're trying to do these lives, and it helps if we have a second person. Almost lost my breath earlier trying to do this live, and we had a lot of interaction. But you can follow me, Eric the Man. I'm sure, Brett, you like that title. But go ahead and follow both of us. But follow us, our main account, which is Locked On Astros, and we're up over 1,000 followers, so we can go ahead and do the live. So check this out. We're also going to do some lives through YouTube from time to time, and we'll do some lives through the what do they call it? The Spaces on Twitter as well. But guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, keep on subscribing, keep on giving us a like while you're listening to our podcast, and go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Check out the Locked On Astros podcast, your team every day. And you know who's no longer got a team?
What?
That was probably bad, but James Click doesn't have a team, unfortunately. As soon as I said that, I'm like, that's gonna come off bad, but oh well.
That's okay. No, hey, you know what? It's all good. It was funny. I kind of chose violence today on Twitter. I told everybody that the interim GM was going to be Craig Biggio and the 2024 GM was going to be Craig Biggio. And I wasn't being completely serious, but man, people that I almost burned Twitter down with that tweet, or Astros Twitter down. Look, the Astros aren't going to bring in someone who's inexperienced. I mean, they're going to bring in someone who can do the job. But I saw this question earlier, and I don't know if it was on your live or if I saw it on Twitter. But do you think someone goes, is James Click trying to get away from the analytical side of baseball? And I'm like, no, their team has been built through the analytical side of baseball. Why would you vacate that? Vacating someone in a position is different from vacating an overall philosophy of how you attack the baseball game.
Yeah. So I think that he's going to continue doing what he's doing. He's going to find somebody who's going to fit more in line of the thinking of what he wants to do. Somebody who will report to him and tell him exactly what he's doing on a day-to-day basis. Because after the 2017 scandal, I think Jim Crane is a little gun shy, so to speak, and just worried about, well, I don't want anything happening under my nose and again, and I want to just make sure I know what's going on. And apparently, according to Michael Schwab on Twitter, that there's been little incidents since 2021 that have kind of built this rift. We haven't seen it because we're fans. We yes, we do a podcast, but we don't get to see everything that happens behind closed doors. And even today, we don't know exactly what was transpired. I know I did this little monologue at the end of the live, and I kind of did like, okay, James Click comes into the office today. Okay, Mr. Crane, I'm ready to let's talk about our negotiation. And so I'm sure Crane was like, okay, here it is. According to Bob Nightingale, it was only a $1 million deal, or slightly more than he was originally paid, for a 1-year deal. That's it. So let me get back in character. Okay. So here, Click. If you want to stay the Astros GM, you're going to go ahead and sign this 1-year deal. Capiche? So let me use this paper. So you capiche? And Click was like, but I just won you a World Series, sir. Shouldn't I get 2 to 3 years, sir? With all due respect. Oh, so you're declining this contract offer? Yes, sir. I think I deserve more. I just won you the World Series. And then Crane just picked it up and said, okay. While we're on the topic, I'm not too happy about some of the things you said at the GM winter meetings. We're too different. I'm too quick. I think I make decisions too quickly, while you're more deliberate. And you compared me to the Rays owner. I'm very offended with some of the stuff that you said about me. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and rip this contract up, and you can go ahead and go find another job, but say hi to your family, and I wish you good luck. And thank you for all the good things you've done for the Houston Astros.
Yeah, exactly. Well, here's the thing. I think what we know is this. All the articles I've read and the people that talk about James Click in the media, the beat writers, various people that are connected with the team, the Schwabs and guys like that, is that Jim Crane's always been involved, and I think that maybe that's something that we as Astros fans haven't realized how involved he is, and I think we assume that because I'm still not convinced that Jim Crane didn't know something was going on when the Astros were embroiled in their whatever they were doing. Okay, we all know what that was, but the incident you talked about was dating back to 2021 that Schwab actually quoted. He's like several people familiar with the matter when they almost landed Liam Hendricks in free agency. He said he'll bring out more stuff later. He has his own little newsletter, but the thing is, Jim Crane became a billionaire by being involved. And if you know people who work for the Astros, you and I have talked to people who work for the Astros. I've got former coaches from my high school career that now work for the Astros, different people like that. Jim Crane's super involved in everything. And so I don't think this is out of his character, but it just hasn't been publicized. We've got to remember that Dusty Baker was hired by Jim Crane, that maybe James Click was trying to manage the team more than be the GM. And that's where the Dusty and the Click riff came in that we talked about with the lineup and Jeremy Pena. And I think James Click wanted more control. I think James Click wanted more of a say. And Jim Crane was like, no, Dusty's the manager. He's the guy. And I really think Jim Crane being involved, I don't think he suddenly turned into quote unquote the Jerry Jones of baseball. I think he's always been involved. And I think that's where, if as Astros fans you think about it, maybe there's not as much to be concerned about, because the other two guys he let go were two of Click's hires. If you fire the GM or you let him go or make him an offer that he doesn't like, and those other two guys go, Eric, that's not necessarily a warning sign. That's just getting rid of the guys that were hired under him.
Yeah, Andrew Ball is still technically hired at the moment, so he has not been fired yet. It was Powers, Scott Powers. He's the one that was let go. This was just hours after James Click was let go, and they were just hired this past spring. I think Powers was hired from the Dodgers and Ball was hired from the Angels, and they were hired to be basically Click's assistant general managers to help them with some of the day-to-day stuff and just help them make some better decisions. And now, if you're looking at what does that mean for Ball, I don't know if Click trusts him enough to keep him around. I don't know if he just couldn't find him to, I hate to say this, to fire him or not. But
no, I doubt that. I doubt that's the case.
So, but maybe Ball is in consideration for a maybe temporary very interim until they find somebody, because the winter meetings are coming up. At the end of this month, they do have to decide who they're protecting from the Rule 5 draft. So that is something to think about. But I just love all the different the ways that it's come out. Like the Astros say that the Astros and James Click have parted ways. When Bob Nightingale, take it for what it's worth, he said that it was the whole it was because Click declined the 1-year offer, but he used the term fired. Yes, he didn't have a contract, but basically once he turned down a contract, they basically said, yeah, we're taking away your contract. And so
Well,
it's just hard to, I mean, I know it's not
well,
technically firing, but
well, they fired Lunau. They didn't fire Click.
right.
They gave him an offer that he didn't like. Giving someone an offer and that person turning down that offer
It was
is
a
not a
bogus offer.
firing. It still is not a firing.
I know.
A firing is we're not even giving you an offer. And look, if you would have told me yesterday or the day before or the day before that we would be talking about this, I would have said, you know what? Just like this segment in this show that's brought to you by Bet Online, I would not have bet on that. BetOnline.net is your number one source for your sports betting information, stats, news, and analysts. Get the latest odds and trends of every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer to esports to NHL, whatever sport it is you watch, we've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get all your betting fix and what you need today. Head to the website or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
So to continue, I'm just going to wrap up on the Click because we do need to move forward. But Bob Nightingale did say that Jim Crane, despite their differences, knew he had to make GM James Click an offer after winning the World Series. Crane also made an offer that he probably knew Click would reject. It'll be intriguing how many front office employees hired by Click will stay. We already saw Powers go. Will Ball be next? We already saw Pete Patella get a job somewhere else. And Oz Campo, I know he wasn't really, I mean, I think he was technically part of the scouting department, but he's already gone now. So this is definitely a overhaul of the Astros front office, and how will that affect the 2023 season? I don't know. I think it's really in the hands of what Jim Crane decides to do. And I know you had that very outlandish idea about Biggio being the GM, and it was a total joke. But Richard Justice on Gallery Sports, while I was writing mine, I was looking to see if anybody else wrote something, but he said, well, what about Jeff Bagwell? Jeff Bagwell is somebody that he has no experience being GM. Don't get me wrong. He needs to surround himself with a bunch of guys that do know how to make the deals and everything. But what Bagwell has is a great baseball mind, and he has the ear of Jim Crane, and they trust each other. They have this good working relationship. So if it's about trust, somebody like Jeff Bagwell, I don't see
Well,
it happening, but that's
well,
just
I like this. If we're going to go internal, Reggie Jackson. I mean, why wouldn't you put him in charge? Maybe Reggie has no business doing that or has no interest in that. But if we're just throwing spaghetti in the wall to see what sticks, it's those guys. But you also have guys out there now. I would never hire John Daniels, who left the Rangers to go to the Rays, but he was a name out there. Other than that, you got Sigma Dahl, you got Scott Sharp from the Royals. David Stearns has already said adamantly, I'm not going anywhere. So that's not even a name worth talking about right now. And then there
Can I say
is,
something real quick? John Daniels was just hired by the Tampa Bay Rays.
that's what I just said. He went
Okay.
to the Rays. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. He would. Yeah. Yeah. He went to the Rays today. Dayton Moore is also with the Kansas City Royals. And I mean, there are some names out there. There's just not a lot of names out there. It's kind of like if you go with the philosophy, if it's not broke, then don't try to fix it. But apparently this rift has been going on for more than a year. Apparently this rift with the two is not something that just popped up. And if this rift has been going on this long and they went out and won a World Series title, then why are we even talking about this having any hampering effect on winning another World Series title? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that there's more fodder here than actual things to be truly concerned about, because I mean this has happened in the past. The Cardinals did this right after they won their last World Series. I believe the Red Sox did this a year or two after they won their World Series with Dombrowski. This isn't the first time this has happened. And again, the way Click was hired, it more seems like he was. Oh no, that is not the move there, Mr. Corona. He is not. He's not the first time. This isn't some anomaly. This isn't like Jim Craig pulled a rabbit out of his hat and you're like, whoa, where did that rabbit come from? Things like this happen. And when you're in the upper echelon of a Major League Baseball team, and if the owner doesn't like the way things are going, heads roll. And this just happened to be, if Click agreed with Crane, if Click and Crane got along, he gets a 3 or 4 year deal. And who knows, you know? No,
No,
come on,
no,
man.
no Easterby, no Easterby.
This is not a Texans Easterby situation. We're not even we're not going to mention Easterby and Crane, or like the Texans are on a whole different lower rung level of improperly run franchises, probably in all of sports.
Yes. So Dayton Moore he was fired by the Kansas City Royals, and he's in talk with the Rangers
Oh,
for
okay.
the senior advisor for baseball operations. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, well, I mean, I just knew that I just knew that name was out there.
Yeah.
So you don't have a lot to go off of. You don't have a lot of people to look at.
Right.
And maybe his son, who is the senior vice president of baseball operations, Jim Crane's son, is like Jared Crane, I think. Maybe they slide him into an interim role. I'm just saying they're going to put somebody there. Jim
Yeah.
Crane's not going to be like, I'm also GM. I don't know, but maybe he would.
I mean, he
It's
may have
just,
influence, but I don't think he's going to be Jerry Jones like I joked about on yesterday's show. But Sigma McDowell is probably the guy that we can look at right now as outside of the outlandish ones. I know a lot of people are talking about Jeff Luhnow. I don't think that's going to happen. I would love to have Jeff Luhnow back, but I just don't see that happening. But he was with the Astros for 5 to 6 years, Sigma McDowell, and he did a great job. Well, I mean, he was part of he wasn't the GM, but he knows how the Astros work. He's really smart, and he's been the assistant GM over there underneath Elias. And Elias was with the Astros, so I think he knows he's ready for this situation. So that could be somebody that Crane is ready to go get. So there's some other names that we probably don't know about, but you know that Crane has a plan. This isn't something he's starting from scratch. He knows what he's doing. He's not stupid. He has a plan. Somebody said on the TikTok live I did, somebody said, well, he's already probably got a team of people he's already ready to kind of consider. I mean, you may have to like interview people and before you hire somebody, but still, my question is, if you knew you wanted to be out on James Click, why handle the situation the way you did? Yes, he just won the World Series, but why couldn't you have said before the whole playoff started? I think we may have to reevaluate the GM situation, no matter if we win the World Series or not. But let's go
but
Astros.
would you say that before the playoffs? Why would you do that before the playoffs?
That way, it's not oh well, he's just doing it. I mean, it looks
Well,
bad
no,
because it's after the World Series.
but then it looks even worse before
Yeah,
the World Series. I mean, that's like when someone's running for office, whether it's local, state, or national, and they're like, "Well, I'm not going to run for reelection." Well, then they're called a lame duck, whatever their title is. I think that would be a really bad move on their part, because then you would give all that time for speculation, and that could become a distraction in the clubhouse when you're in the middle of a major playoff run. So that's just my opinion on that.
but at that point, what influence did Click really have on the playoff rosters? You know, that was
Well,
mostly Dusty Baker's decisions.
Well, I know, but you're already in the playoffs, so why are you going to disrupt stuff or
Yeah,
let people in on, or let your
Yeah,
opponents who know
maybe.
that's going on. You're not gonna
Yeah.
there's
My
not a
point
single.
my
Yeah.
point is you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, you know? So
Yeah,
there's
I
no
just
there's no good way to handle this. If Crane wanted Click out, he had to either do it the bad way or the badder way, and he chose the bad way, I guess.
well, I think Jim Crane's probably known all along that something like this was
Right.
gonna happen, and I think Click saw the writing on the wall. That's why Click said what he did. That's why Click said what he did after the post game, and I think the parting of ways started a long time ago. You know, if you said Andrew Ball isn't gone, which I thought he was, then maybe he's the guy that they slot in there for, for a time. Um, it remains to be seen. Look, at the end of the day, I think the Houston Astros need to see if there's any internal candidates, who's in charge of international player development, stuff like that. Um, Kevin Gross is head of player scout. Sarah Goodrum is player development. You've got a lot of people in here. I don't know what connections they would have to a GM role, but is there anybody in house that we're not thinking of, like you said? But
And
I think for now, Eric, the Astros still need to focus on who are they going to sign. And I know this week we're going to be talking about that on Locked On Astros.
yeah, and keep in mind that Andrew Ball, they need to have somebody who knows the Astros system, and he's had basically a whole season to kind of get to know the Astros system, and he knows basically what's going on. So if you're going to keep one of them around, I guess Crane just decided to keep Ball around for some reason. So he was the lucky chosen one. So we'll see what happens. But who knows who the Astros GM is? I think the only person that kind of has an idea is Crane. Crane ain't going to tell anybody. And as I said on the TikTok live, we're not going to know till Mark Berman is saying, I'm down at, what is it, Bush Airport. And the new Astros GM just flew in and I'm here for an interview. And that, I know that's not how he sounds, but
I was like, that's a terrible Mark Berman.
I'm just trying to have some fun with
You
this. That's
you
all.
need to work on your Mark Berman impression. Homework for Eric this weekend.
But it's just funny how baseball's taking us. We didn't talk a lot about this, but Ken Rosenthal blasted Jim Crane and organization. Ben DeBose basically went point by point and said, "I don't care. Astros fans don't care. Nobody cares, but people outside of baseball, we don't care how we're viewed outside of Houston because y'all have hated us for, I mean, this, he didn't say this, but this is me adding something. Y'all have hated the Houston Astros for what, the past 4 or 5 years. So it's, who cares? I mean, that's what Jim Crane is probably
The
thinking. We don't.
baseball world loves this. The baseball world loves this because they're like, see, we knew there was a crack in the Astros foundation. Their empire is falling. Sorry, folks. We're here to stay. We're here for a long time, even without Justin Verlander. This team is gonna be back in the World Series next year and competing for a back-to-back title. You can bookmark that. 11-11-22. You heard it here first.
Alrighty, guys. And also, I just want to say that I wrote my first official column, so to speak, over at Gallery Sports. So go check it out. And I'm pretty impressed with that. And I did a lot of TikToks today. There's a lot to talk about. I was surprised that Powers was dismissed on the same day. And like I said, we discussed, should we even do a podcast? Has the dust settled yet? And who knows? Who knows if more people are going to be laid off between now and then, but we're definitely going to do a podcast on Sunday to see what's happened between now and then. But the winter meetings are coming up. There's some big decisions that need to happen between now and then. I know technically the lead guy would be Andrew Ball at this point. So he would be the informal interim GM until they come up with somebody else. But who knows? But this has been a weird day. And yes, people are making fun of the Houston Astros because of this. But who cares if the Astros end up winning and they get a better, more balanced lineup? Because a lot of people criticize what Click did at the trade deadline, but at the same time, as I pointed out in an article, like all the trades that Click did Dusty Baker really make full advantage of them? I mean, Mancini wasn't used that much. Granted, he wasn't that good, but at beginning, he was good. But then Baker didn't use him that much. And Vasquez, the starting catcher for the Red Sox, wasn't used that much. And I'm not going to talk about Will Smith. He was basically just a salary dump for Oda Rizzi. So closing thoughts, Brett?
Just I think everything's a little bit more okay than what people are making out to be. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I trust Jim Crane. He's helped build this team to where it is. He put Lunau there in power, and he'll put someone else in power that will get things going in the right direction. I think the Astros are well on their way to seeking another title in the second straight season.
We have our GM here, Esther Wolf Craig, said he won his fantasy baseball league 6 out of 10 years I played. He should be a GM.
There
And
you
in
go.
fact, I won one league this year. Does that mean I should be GM? Who knows? I think fantasy baseball is not quite the same as running an actual sports team, but congratulations with that. So with that, that's all we got for this edition of Locked On Astros podcast. We'll be back on Sunday. My name is Eric Huysman. Find me at Eric Talk Astros. You can find Brett at H-Town Wellhouse, and you can find us at Locked On Astros, your team every day.